File 9.
Chapter 6. I was the flail of the Lord. Lord John Roxton and I turned down Vigo Street together, and through the dingy portals of the famous aristocratic rookery. At the end of a long drab passage, my new acquaintance pushed open a door and turned on an electric switch. A number of lamps, shining through tinted shades, bathed the whole great room before us in a ruddy radiance. Standing in the doorway and glancing round me, I had a general impression of extraordinary comfort and elegance, combined with an atmosphere of masculine virility. Everywhere there were mingled the luxury of the wealthy man of taste and the careless untidiness of the bachelor. Rich furs and strange iridescent mats from some oriental bazaar were scattered upon the floor. Pictures and prints, which even my unpractised eyes could recognize as being of great price and rarity, hung thick upon the walls. Sketches of boxers, of ballet girls, and of race-horses alternated with a sensuous Fragonard, a martial Girardet, and a dreamy Turner. But amid these varied ornaments there were scattered the trophies which brought back strongly to my recollection the fact that Lord John Roxton was one of the great all-round sportsmen and athletes of his day. A dark blue oar, crossed with a cherry-pink one above his mantelpiece, spoke of the old Oxonian and Leander man, while the foils and boxing gloves above and below them were the tools of a man who had won supremacy with each. Like a dado round the room was the jutting line of splendid heavy game-heads, the best of their sort from every quarter of the world, with the rare white rhinoceros of the Lardo enclave drooping its supercilious lip above them all. In the centre of the rich red carpet was a black and gold Louis XV table, a lovely antique, now sacrilegiously desecrated with marks of glasses and the scars of cigar stumps. On it stood a silver tray of smokables, and a burnished spirit-stand, from which, and an adjacent siphon, my silent host proceeded to charge 2 high glasses. Having indicated an arm-chair to me, and placed my refreshment near it, he handed me a long, smooth Havana. Then, seating himself opposite to me, he looked at me long and fixedly, with his strange, twinkling, reckless eyes of a cold light blue, the colour of a glacier lake. Through the thin haze of my cigar smoke, I noted the details of a face which was already familiar to me from many photographs. The strongly curved nose, the hollow, worn cheeks, the dark, ruddy hair, thin at the top, the crisp, virile moustaches, the small, aggressive tuft upon his projecting chin. Something there was of Napoleon III, something of Don Quixote, and yet again something which was the essence of the English country gentleman, the keen, alert, open-air lover of dogs and of horses. His skin was of a rich flower-pot red from sun and wind. His eyebrows were tufted and overhanging, which gave those naturally cold eyes an almost ferocious aspect, an impression which was increased by his strong and furrowed brow. In figure he was spare, but very strongly built. Indeed, he had often proved that there were few men in England capable of such sustained exertions. His height was a little over 6 feet, but he seemed shorter on account of a peculiar rounding of the shoulders. Such was the famous Lord John Roxton, as he sat opposite to me, biting hard upon his cigar, and watching me steadily in a long and embarrassed silence. "Well," said he at last, "we've gone and done it, young fellow, my lad." This curious phrase he pronounced as if it were all one word, young fellow, my lad. "Yes, we've taken a jump, you and me. I suppose now, when you went into that room, there was no such notion in your head, what?" "No thought of it." "Same here. No thought of it. And here we are, up to our necks in the tureen. Why, I've only been back 3 weeks from Uganda, and taken a place in Scotland, signed the lease and all. Pretty goings-on, what? How does it hit you?" "Well, it's all in the main line of my business. I'm a journalist on the Gazette." "Of course. You said so when you took it on. By the way, I've got a small job for you, if you'll help me." "With pleasure." "Don't mind taking a risk, do you?" "What is the risk?" "Well, it's Ballinger. He's the risk. You heard of him?" "No." "Oh, why, young fellow, where have you lived? Sir John Ballinger is the best gentleman jock in the North Country. I could hold him on the flat at my best, but over jumps he's my master. Well, it's an open secret that when he's out of training he drinks hard. Striking an average, he calls it. He got delirium on Tuesday, and he's been raging like a devil ever since. His room is above this. The doctors say that it's all up with the old dear unless some food has got into him. But as he lies in bed with a revolver on his coverlet, and swears he'll put 6 of the best through anyone that comes near him, there's been a bit of a strike among the serving men. He's a hard nail, is Jack, and a dead shot too. But you can't leave a Grand National winner to die like that, what?" "Well, what do you mean to do, then?" I asked. "Well, my idea was that you and I could rush him. He may be dozing, and at the worst he can only wing one of us, and the other should have him. If we can get his bolster cover round his arms, and then phone up a stomach pump, we'll give the old dear the supper of his life." It was rather a desperate business to come suddenly into one's day's work. I don't think that I'm a particularly brave man. I have an Irish imagination which makes the unknown and the untried more terrible than they are. On the other hand, I was brought up with a horror of cowardice, and with a terror of such a stigma. I dare say that I could throw myself over a precipice, like the Hun in the history books, if my courage to do it were questioned, and yet it would surely be pride and fear, rather than courage, which would be my inspiration. Therefore, although every nerve in my body shrank from the whisky-maddened figure which I pictured in the room above, I still answered, in as careless a voice as I could command, that I was ready to go. Some further remark of Lord Roxton's about the danger only made me irritable. "Talking won't make it any better," said I. "Come on." I rose from my chair and he from his. Then, with a little confidential chuckle of laughter, he patted me 2 or 3 times on the chest, finally pushing me back into my chair. "All right, sonny, my lad. You'll do," said he. I looked up in surprise. "I saw after Jack Ballinger myself this morning. He blew a hole in the skirt of my kimono, bless his shaky old hand. But we got a jacket on him, and he's to be all right in a week. I say, young fella, I hope you don't mind, what? You see, between you and me close-tiled, I look on this South American business as a mighty serious thing, and if I have a pal with me, I want a man I can bank on. So I sized you down, and I'm bound to say that you came well out of it. You see, it's all up to you and me, for this old Summerlee man will want some dry nursing from the first. By the way, are you by any chance the Malone who is expected to get his rugby cap for Ireland? Reserve, perhaps. I thought I remembered your face. Why, I was there when you got that try against Richmond. As fine a swerving run as I saw the whole season. I never miss a rugby match if I can help it, for it's the manliest game we have left. Well, I didn't ask you in here just to talk sport. We've got to fix our business. Here are the sailings on the first page of the Times. There's a Booth boat for Para next Wednesday week, and if the Professor and you can work it, I think we should take it, what? Very good. I'll fix it with him. What about your outfit? Oh, my paper will see to that. Can you shoot? About average. Territorial standard. Good Lord, as bad as that, eh? It's the last thing you young fellows think of learning. You're all bees without stings, so far as looking after the hive goes. You'll look silly some of these days when someone comes along and sneaks the honey. But you'll need to hold your guns straight in South America, for unless our friend the Professor is a madman or a liar, we may see some queer things before we get back. What gun have you? He crossed to an oaken cupboard, and as he threw it open I caught a glimpse of glistening rows of parallel barrels, like the pipes of an organ. I'll see what I can spare for you out of my own battery.